Hail Internet, it's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. Today, we're talking about Season 2, Episode 9 of the Apple TV sci-fi series Severance. The episode entitled, The After Hours. This title and some of the dialogue between Harmony and the Birthing Lodge guard are taken from the Twilight Zone episode, After Hours, in which a woman finds out that she's a mannequin, part of a group of mannequins that are allowed one by one to spend 1 month as a human before returning to their mannequin state. Certainly an analogy to Severance and maybe to whatever's happening to Gemma. So we open with Helena swimming timed laps in an indoor pool at the Egan estate. She obviously has minimal PTSD from her recent near drowning. She heads to breakfast where her father watches her breakfast routine, creepily, calling this a momentous day because he incorrectly assumes that Cold Harbor is going to be completed that day. She meticulously slices a hard-boiled egg into 6 pieces and arranges the sections on a plate, depicting a young boy seemingly being pulled in 2 directions by 2 old women, one wearing blue, the other red, those colors symbolizing the innies and the outies. You can make all kinds of whatever. You could analyze that plate quite a bit. It's a little creepy and weird, but she's very, OCD
very
about
brand, though,
creating breakfast. Yep. Her dad says he wishes she ate the eggs raw, and we know from season 1 that Keir allegedly ate 3 raw eggs every morning, so he wants her to act more like Keir. Notably, she tells her dad, "We're seeing to Mr. Bailiff," meaning Irv. Helena apparently has put out a hit on Irv, trying to keep him from spying on Lumen. And also maybe as a revenge for his innie trying to drown her. So she hasn't completely gotten over it. But anyway. There's that. We end with Harmony and Devon enacting Devon's plan by sneaking Mark into the birthing lodge. Once there, Severance takes place. Innie Mark emerges and meets with Harmony. He remembers that the last thing he said to Devon was, "She's alive." We're now set up for the great Gemma heist for the season finale. All that said, Paul.
Yes.
What'd you think of episode 9?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. Even though, yes, there was a lot of, table setting or chair setting or whatever. I'll find the right, metaphor eventually. But certainly the story with Irv was emotional.
Yep.
And, I'm glad that Bert, he was redeemed. He didn't,
Right, it could have just been, the Lumen treachery thing where he pretends to be in a relationship with Irv and then kills him at the end, whatever.
Yeah,
but he doesn't.
We got an example of the type of person that Bert wanted to overcome in himself.
Yeah.
That aspect of him that he needs to atone for. So that was interesting. And even though, I think some people have maybe said that Dylan's story could have perhaps gotten slightly more time, that maybe it happened very quickly. I still thought, it was still effective. It was good seeing.
It was still effective. Yep.
Zach Cherry.
I was thinking of that same idea just generally for this episode. A lot happens plot wise for each of these characters, but they really, if you think about the amount of time spent on each character, it's not a ton of time, but they really make good use of the time for sure. So yeah.
I was happy the way Helly was, going up against Seth. Putting him in his place. That was enjoyable. And then, of course, Seth putting Drummond in his place. What is that? Devour feculence.
Devour feculence. he points out that...
That's going to be a T-shirt, not
Devour feculence.
Pretty soon, yeah.
Yeah, so Drummond's reprimanding Milchick for Mark's absence. When Drummond makes Milchick apologize for using the word remonstration.
Yeah.
Milchick is playing along at first. Okay, I apologize. But when he's asked to do it again and again to get the devoured feculence, and then he points out, monosyllabically that Mark's absence is due to Drummond's failure to keep track of Outie Mark. So, there's a lot of insubordination going on in this episode. You're like, oh, okay, Lumen's falling apart here on the Severance floor. But,
Ben Stiller talked on the podcast that comes out the morning after the episode premieres that Trammell did a take where monosyllabically, and he said the rest of the line that way, and they just didn't go with that. It's just like, but that's one of the, they should release that take.
It's a good get, yeah, for sure. And we've been saying, they've been pushing Milchick and pushing him, and he's been unhappy, and I mean, here he gets to the point where that's a superior. He admits, you're superior, I don't care. Go to hell, essentially, and walks off. Like, woo.
Now, one thing that unfortunately I think could have been, well to establish that by, and I feel like, that's that may have been something that they rewrote to embellish the point, that by Dylan's own words, Dylan as his outie and his innie before that, that he sees that as death. I mean, he certainly said enough so that we know that, but if he had actually had to say it, they weren't going to, bring Helly into that scene, I guess, because she may have behaved very similarly to where Dylan did with Bert when he was trying to, Irv when he was trying to leave. But, maybe Wong could have said, you think of this as a suicide. I don't know, it probably was too difficult to do. It's like, Seth really needed to feel, I guess, all he could feel was anger at him.
Probably because he sees it as an obstacle to finishing Cold Harbor somehow. Like, hey, I need Dylan around.
I don't know. I feel like it's really just Mark. That's all they ever care about is Mark.
It is true, but somehow maybe they think of Dylan as like somebody that helps Mark achieve his goal. Maybe, I don't know. Gretchen confesses to Outie Dylan that she kissed Innie Dylan.
Yes.
Which enrages Outie Dylan. Outie Dylan threatens to quit Lumen, which of course would mean Innie Dylan would cease to be. To make amends with Outie Dylan, Gretchen meets one last time with Innie Dylan to call off the visitations. He's devastated, on his knees, to the point that I think ceasing to be sounds preferable to him. I think he's like, okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not, but in a way, it's sort of like, I guess he said, "Fuck this place."
So he puts in his request to leave, and then we see, seemingly for the last time, he leaves the company. Though, do remember, season 1, Helly tried to quit, and it's not up to the Innie. So ultimately, it's Outie Dylan's decision whether or not to quit.
Well, they did, Seth did say at that meeting that they could, that they do have the option of quitting now.
Okay.
Right? You remember that?
I do remember that. I thought he was just telling him something to make him feel better. But okay, maybe you're right. That it was like, no, we've actually given Innies the power to quit. I was thinking to myself, is there a scenario? And I couldn't really think of a great scenario, but I could probably, if you gave me enough time, think of a scenario in which Outie Dylan decides, now he wanted to quit? Oh, and you've stopped seeing him? There's no more visitations? All right, I'll just keep doing it then. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, he could. I mean, because really, we know that the job prospects for Outie Dylan aren't good.
Exactly. So, just saying, it may be one of those Innie Dylan returns, if not maybe next episode, maybe it's next season, as a incredibly dejected, depressed, like Helly. Helly was, went to try to hang herself because she couldn't leave.
Right.
And so Milchick, besides facing Drummond, also essentially prematurely ends Miss Wong's fellowship. Yes. He tells her, congratulations, here's your trophy. We're sending you to the Arctic Circle. Don't forget to break your favorite toy on the way out. And she's obviously caught unawares because she says, like, I thought I'd get to finish out the quarter. And you're like, nope.
Yeah.
No, I just really don't like you. But congrats. You're moving on. Yeah. You're leaving your parents' house to go live in the Arctic Circle. That's it. It's like, wow, okay. So he kind of, he screws her over too. I'm just saying, Milchick is a loose cannon at this point.
Yeah,
and so I think he is at a point where he might actually, seeing what's transpiring, may actually assist in the attempted rescue of Gemma. Now, will I have to eat circus peanuts next week? If Gemma is successfully rescued, I lose the bet. And commenter Neo's of the One added an extra layer to the punishment, saying that I should sing the Keir song while eating the circus peanuts. So it sounds selfish, but man, I really hope they get caught. I'm just saying, here we go. Come on, Milchick, don't do it. I know I'm saying it, but don't do it.
I was just watching, a little documentary on gambling, and now I'm starting to feel a little guilty. Yeah, and I don't think we've ever seen anybody sing the Keir song crying.
But you mentioned, Helly, throwing her weight around with Milchick. So she says to him, "Don't you mean Helly E?" in response to Milchick calling her Helly R.
Yes.
And then he's like, "Please leave the door open." She slams the door.
Yeah.
So more just like this insubordinate. I mean, there's a lot of dysfunction happening in this floor, and it really is a big problem for Lumen, which isn't a big problem for nice people everywhere. But it would be a problem for Lumen to have Helly. Like, let's say if she was going to work there for years, knowing that she's the boss of the company,
right?
They would want to take steps to erase her memory, or maybe she's not even needed after Cold Harbor. I think that whole plan to have Helena, work as Helly, the whole plan was never to have Helly know that she's Helena Egan. I think that,
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I guess now that he's definitely working against them, that was a crucial mistake.
Well, so she's in the process of memorizing the directions to the testing floor.
Yes.
Elevator.
Yes.
When her father shows up at Lumen.
Yes.
After hours, and he says, "You tricked me."
Yes.
I think since he knows he's talking to Helly, I assume he's referring to the last time they spoke at the end of season 1, which really isn't that long ago in show terms. When Helly pretended to be Helena during the whole, he was like, during the revolving and all that stuff. He was talking to Helly, thinking he was talking to Helena. So I think that's what he's referring to. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, you don't feel that he's in some dementia-fueled, fantasy?
Why then, in your mind, if he's in some kind of fantasy, why is he saying you tricked me to Helly?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was calling her a moppet and all this other stuff,
Yeah, but he was calling Helena a moppet.
Yeah, but I got the impression that wasn't the first time.
No, I get right, but I'm just saying here he's talking to Helly specifically. Like, he's not saying Helena tricked him. He says you tricked me, my Helly. I think is what he says. So,
yeah. Oh, right. So you're saying, yeah, I guess it could be. You're probably right. That actually doesn't make sense. I don't know why I was slow to do that. It's just I can't imagine what he would have to say to the Helly. It seemed more like I think I was just imagining more. He doesn't see her as her age, or maybe Helena was named after someone else who has the name of Helen. He's thinking of that person. So I feel like it is more likely in its dimension not to be. I understand what's going on. That's all, but maybe he does. It's certainly it's certainly a nice twist that
I think it's notable that he's there, that he's at Lumen.
Sure.
Maybe he mentioned this momentous day. He thought maybe Cold Harbor would be finished. Maybe he's there. He was there to see the progress. But
sure. And we've also still don't have an understanding of what this ascension or whatever he was talking about. Ascension
the revolving or whatever.
The revolving or whatever. So maybe that's a part of it that should occur at the same time, and maybe that's what he was hoping for to have happen.
And we cut off there. It's not that he leaves or Helly leaves. I think there's more to that conversation coming.
Oh, sure.
It's the start of a conversation.
Of course.
But that suggests to me then too, like, what? She's alone on the floor. He comes, finds her, says, "You tricked me." it feels like he sought her out because he wanted to talk to Helly for some reason. Which is an odd, I don't know. Like, is that like a farewell? Maybe it's like, you know what, Cold Harbor's about to explain. For some reason, Cold Harbor's going to mean the end of the need for Helly, maybe. Maybe it means Helen doesn't have to fake being Helly anymore. Yeah, and so he wants to say something to her one last time. I don't know.
You're imagining far more.
Okay. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm
far more.
I'm overanalyzing that phrase.
Well, I mean, you imagine he's far more lucid than I do, I guess. So,
okay. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just.
Maybe you're right. You know, who knows? And there may be something in him. Like maybe she says, "Hey, can you take me to this place?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." You know, because so I have to remember all that crap.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna play that way. I don't think it's gonna play that way.
You know, it's I
think he's an obstacle that Helly's gonna have to overcome somehow. If you out there have thoughts on what I mean,
but here's the thing,
means.
though. He could say, "Yeah, I'll take you there," and not be able to do it.
Well, she doesn't need him to get him to the elevator, right? I mean, we'll assume that she memorized it successfully.
Well, yeah. I mean, she wasn't. It would look pretty damn long and hard.
It is a long time, but she had been trying it for a while. Oh, okay.
How long? Like only an hour, a couple hours, or whatever. At least, from the time that we saw her get it, probably only an hour or two.
I'm gonna go with the theory that she is now. Okay. The reason they focused on her memorizing it was so they was like, okay, she's memorized it. Okay. I think, but good point. Maybe she's like, I have no idea. Okay, you know, go.
We really talked about Mark at all.
I know, which is maybe the most important of the plot developments. But so, Mark, Devin, Harmony meet in the park. Harmony says they have to wait until nightfall, and that's what they do. So we just cut to it's night in the park. You're like, oh my god! They just sat there staring at each other for 6 hours. But
Cobell was talking pretty slowly, so
yeah, that's true. So. Then they go to, as I say, they go to this birthing lodge, and then the severance kicks in. So Devin's plan has come to fruition in terms of Mark is talking to Harmony outside of Lumen, and Harmony is on Team Mark, seemingly. She also brings up, like, oh, if Cold Harbor's finished, then, it's the end for Gemma. So she'll find out here in the next conversational seconds.
Do you think actually dead, or just that the part
probably
of,
maybe her personality's gone, or
right.
yeah, I think maybe it's something like that. And so she's going to find out that it's 96% complete from any Mark, so it's not done. So she's like, okay, we can proceed with some kind of extraction plan. She's the one that tells Mark, hey, you need to call Milchick because otherwise he's going to close you out of the company and
lock you
your
out.
Plan will fail. And that's an interesting bit there where his phone call, he tries to bluff about medical visits due to his nosebleed. Right. And then he's just like, I'm not sick. I just needed a day. And they all think, isn't that what Lumen's about? Balance? So anyway, it's a good strategy and
really, and obviously they want it to be, fairly quick, that conversation, but I mean, I'm no supervisor, but I might have been like, you've already taken a few days.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's interesting because Milchick just kind of lets him talk. Like there's some silence in there where Milchick's like, I don't know.
I'm not exactly sure what the significance of the painting is.
I think it's because it's an iceberg. So you've got the thing on the surface and what's beneath. You can make a lot of analogies again, like the picture on the plate of eggs. It's like, oh, is that like a severance versus what's below? Or is that what the motions beneath?
Maybe he's thinking of lettuce.
Yeah, exactly. Irv, as we mentioned, comes home to find Bert waiting for him in the dark.
Yes.
He tells Irv he was an enforcer for Lumen, though he doesn't admit to killing anyone.
No.
He says he drove targets to locations from which they never returned.
Yeah.
And Irv wonders aloud, justifiably, whether Bert has come for him. He's driving him somewhere.
Yeah, and do you think what happened was because Helena had mentioned bailiff at the very first there. So do you think that's what they'd planned? Like, okay, well, have him get out of town, otherwise we want something more serious to happen.
Oh,
or was he in charge of taking him to the place
disposing.
where he was seen?
I think he's in charge of disposing of Irv.
Okay, all right.
And
Which
he decided not to.
If Helena's aware of that, wow.
Exactly. That was a wow moment. It's one of the reasons I mentioned it up front was because it is a pretty big moment to be like, if maybe we're wrong, but I feel like, yeah, she's like pulling the trigger on people as part of her duties with Lumen. So yeah, it speaks to, more proof she's a villain. Bert puts Irv and his dog, very good, saves the pet, on a train. Tells them to never come back. Irv wants to try having the relationship that their innies experienced.
Sure.
Bert says they can't.
Right.
And he's probably right.
Oh, yeah.
And Irv relents and gets on the train, and we see him leaving the city.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier this season John Turturro's role in Miller's Crossing. Damn it if it doesn't feel familiar again here. Gabriel Byrne's character is tasked with killing John Turturro for the mob.
Yeah, so he's going to show up at his place and like, hey, you didn't see what play
exactly.
you gave me.
Because, yes, in that scenario, Gabriel Byrne really regrets saving his life and has to undo that mistake.
Yeah, see, they can lift so much out of there. Look in your heart.
Yeah, right.
Look in your heart.
So it's just interesting how Turturro is again playing like guy still breathing due to the empathy of a hitman, basically. But yeah, so good on Bert. But it does set up. We've got Irv is leaving town.
Yes.
Dylan has quit. Seemingly just spent his last day at Lumen.
Right.
Miss Wong's gone. Milchick is on the verge of who knows snapping.
Sure.
I assume that all of those plot lines won't resolve into everybody's back at Lumen next episode. Right?
Yeah. It's even harder to imagine some of that, them all at the cubicles again.
So I think whatever happens in this finale, if you get to a season 3, it's going to be a huge dynamic shift. I almost feel like it's one of those, remember, Lost had the we have to go back. If they have whatever. Mark has to go round up the troops again. We got to go back. I don't know, but have we seen the end of this team sitting around the cubicles or not? I don't know.
Sure,
maybe. Yeah. So yeah, if you out there have thoughts on where you see the nature of our 4 heroes essentially.
Yeah.
Helly, Dylan, Irv, and Mark, will they reunite? Again, one would think they would, but in what capacity will they be?
And will it feel so good?
That's understood, Paul.
Well, I have one more thought. Another After Hours reference is, of course, a different Arquette in the After Hours movie with Griffin Dunne, directed by Martin Scorsese.
Ooh. I also saw that, I guess, so I don't put much stock in this, but people have pointed out that in Twilight Zone, the episode after the After Hours is like Mighty Casey, which is like a Miss Casey, and it's a person who's actually a robot, and anyway, so I'm like, okay, easy on the. We can go down that rabbit hole a little too far, maybe.
Yeah,
but,
really.
Okay. So, all right. Well, we'll be back talking about the finale.
Yes.
I'm hoping I don't have to buy circus peanuts, but if I do, I do. So come on back for all that. Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good sir. And we'll talk to everybody next time. Bye.